Welcome back. In this video, we're going to continue with section 1.3 by working on subtracting integers. So we'll see that basically there's one way to do this, and it's to rewrite our subtractions in terms of addition and take advantage of all the work we put into to learn how to do addition. So there's one kind of rule that goes before that, and that is that if you already know how to do it, then just do it. And you don't have to apply any kind of special reasoning to it. And you'll see what I mean by that here right now. So 12 minus 7, you have probably a variety of ways of figuring this out, and you're going to get 5, right? 12 minus 7 is 5 because 7 plus 5 is 12. And that's it. For 133 minus 35, you can write it vertically and do the subtraction, the borrowing, and all that stuff. And you should end up with what? End up with 98, right? And so that's it. The plan for this section really works well for other cases, like making 7 minus 12, where you're trying to take away more than you had in the first place, or negative 13 minus 5, where you have a negative number and you're taking more away, and so on. Subtracting a negative from a positive number, or subtracting a negative from a negative number. If you have basically difficulties with these cases, this section is going to help with that. Again, the overall rule, though, is that if you already know how to do something, just do it, like the 12 minus 7 equaling 5 case. So if it is some sort of a setup or problem where you don't know how to do it, then what you want to do is replace the second number with its opposite and then add, as we did in the previous section. So some books will take this to be the definition of subtraction. We can do that, or just think of it as a rule for how you do subtracting. To do a minus b, where a and b are any numbers you want, then we can replace that by a plus the opposite of b. In other words, to subtract b is the same as adding the opposite of b. So you can always rewrite a subtraction in terms of an addition, and often that can end up easier than trying to think it through just in terms of subtraction. So let's try it out with these examples. So here for 7 minus 12, again, if you have a way of doing it, great. If not, then here's how to do it. So to do 7 minus 12, we'll look at that as 7 plus the opposite of 12. I replace the subtraction by the addition of the opposite. Okay, so now 7 plus minus 12, we're going to do that via addition. To get that done, we'll take 12 minus 7, which is 5. And then the add-in with the larger absolute value is the negative 1. So we will end up with negative 5 for an answer. Negative 13 minus 5, that's the same as negative 13 plus negative 5. Again, we're adding the opposite. Now we're adding together two numbers that are both negative. We'll get a negative sum, and it's negative 18. Okay. Next up, we have 40 minus negative 3. That is the same as 40 plus the opposite of negative 3 is 3. Get 43. Okay. Sometimes people get thrown off by this because they're used to thinking that subtraction makes something smaller. Right? If you subtract money from your bank account, you have less, right? But here we're taking away something that is negative, and so we end up with a answer that is bigger than the amount that we started with. Okay, takes a little getting used to. Negative 12 minus negative 16, that's the same as negative 12 plus the opposite of negative 16, which is positive 16. So now we've rewritten it in terms of an addition, and we can forget about the fact that it was originally a subtraction. To do negative 12 plus 16, there we're adding two numbers that differ in sign, so we subtract their absolute values. Absolute value of negative 12 is 12, absolute value of 16 is 16. 16 minus 12 is 4, and there we're adding together numbers where the one with the larger absolute value is positive, so we'd end up with positive 4. Okay, so there's a couple of examples illustrating how you can rewrite a subtraction in terms of an addition. Okay, unfortunately, we have more examples though, so let's see. So at this point, you can pause the video and try these and see how you do. Restart the video. Okay. All right. So here we have 6 minus 10. We'll replace that by 6 plus negative 10. Okay, now it's an addition. And so to carry out an addition where the numbers differ in sign, we will subtract their absolute values. This time the one with the negative is the one with the bigger absolute value. So get negative 4. Negative 14 minus 19, that's the same as negative 14 plus negative 19. Now we're adding together two numbers, both of which are negative, so we'll get a negative sum for that. And then 19 plus 14 is 33, so we should have negative 33. Negative 12 minus negative 6, that's negative 12 plus positive 6. And negative 12 plus 6 is going to be negative 6. 6 minus 9, that's the same as 6 plus negative 9 and is negative 3. And then negative 14 minus 5, that's negative 14 plus negative 5. Adding together two numbers, both of which are negative, we'll get a negative sum. And 14 plus 5 is 19. Okay. Negative 3 minus negative 4, that's the same as negative 3 plus the opposite of negative 4, which is 4. Negative 3 plus 4 is just 1. Okay, make sure in working through these, you're able to get the right answer. If you have any questions on that, let me know. Okay, a couple where we have more numbers, right? We'll work left to right according to order of operations. Here we have 12 minus 5 minus 7. Working left to right, 12 minus 5 is 7, right? 12 minus 5 is 7, and then 7 minus 7 is 0. Okay, final answer is 0. Okay, 9 minus 6 minus negative 3 plus 8. Working from left to right, 9 minus 6 is 3. Okay, 3 minus negative 3 is the same as 3 plus positive 3. And that's going to give you 14. All right. Here we're going to evaluate an expression. This one I've already started for us. It's 3x minus y when x is 2 and y is negative 6. So 3 times x, that's 3 times 2 is 6. And then we're subtracting from it negative 6. So 3 times 2 is 6, minus 6, subtracting negative 6 is the same as adding positive 6, and that's where we're getting positive 12 from. Okay, a couple of comments and then a few more examples. Some things to keep in mind as you're working on all of this, that just like addition doesn't always make bigger, subtraction doesn't always make smaller. Okay, so thinking through a couple of examples. Suppose that your credit card charges you a $25 late fee because you were late on a payment. So of course they add that to your balance. Okay, so now you owe more. That's a negative 25 according to you, your side of it. Suppose then that you call the credit card company and say, okay, well, I'm on time most all the time, so will you please waive the charge? So if they waive the charge of $25, that's a benefit to you, right? So subtracting that negative 25 is like adding $25 for you. Okay, suppose that you write your friend a $10 check for gas, and they say, no, you're my friend, don't worry about it. And so they tear up the check. If they tear up the $10 check that you wrote, that is again a benefit to you. Subtracting a negative is adding a positive. Okay. For subtraction, you don't need to think about, okay, are the signs the same? Are the signs different? Is the one in the front positive? Is the one in the back negative? None of that. The overall rule for subtraction is if you already know how to do it, just do it. And if you don't, then change it into an addition and then worry about how to do addition, follow addition rules. As what I'd mentioned before about if you just know how to do it, then do it. The reason for that is you don't really want to do this addition, changing it into an addition, if it is something you already know how to do. And here's an example of why. Let's say that you have 12 minus 7. Okay. If I was going to follow this rule, 12 minus 7, say, okay, well, let's write it as an addition of the opposite. That's 12 plus negative 7. How do we do that? Well, how we do 12 plus negative 7 is we subtract their absolute values. But subtracting their absolute values would be 12 minus 7, and that was the problem we had in the first place, right? And so this is just kind of going around in circles for no real reason. If you already know how to do it, then do it. And if you don't, then turn it into an addition. Okay, once you've changed the subtraction to an addition, you don't need to think about subtraction anymore. You don't need to try to juggle both in your head. Just think, okay, well, now it's an addition problem. Let me just finish it. Okay, regardless of where you start, that is, it doesn't matter whether the first number is positive or negative or anything like that. Here's what happens. If you add a positive number, you get an answer that is more positive. And then if you subtract a negative, you get an answer that is more positive. Adding a negative gives you a number that is more negative. If you subtract a positive, that gives you an answer that is more negative. Okay? All right, so just a few examples for us to try, just to make sure we're okay. And some of these are a mixture of additions, some are a mixture of subtractions. So let's go ahead and go through it. So 14 minus negative 11 is the same as 14 plus positive 11, which is 25. Negative 17 minus 42, that's the same as negative 7 plus positive 42. And then to do that addition, I would need to subtract 42 minus 17, get 25. And then here we're adding together two numbers where the one that's positive has the bigger absolute value, so it should just be 25. Okay, bigger numbers now. Negative 105 minus negative 68. That is the same as negative 105 plus positive 68. So then again, to get that done, I need to figure out 105 minus 68. So then 15 minus 8 is 7, 9 minus 6 is 3, 37. And then this time, the one with the bigger absolute value is negative. So we have negative 37. Okay, three numbers this time, working from left to right. We have 8 minus 3 is 5. 5 minus 7, if you already know how to do that, great. If not, we'll make it 5 plus negative 7. That will give you negative 2. Okay. A couple more. Negative 3 minus 8. That is the same as negative 3 plus 8. And don't forget my plus 4 in the back. Okay, negative 3 plus 8 is going to be 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay, for the next part, we'll do the two pieces in parentheses first. 2 minus 7 is the same as 2 plus negative 7. And then 3 minus 8 is the same as 3 plus negative 8. 2 plus negative 7 is negative 5. 3 plus negative 8 is negative 5. Negative 5 minus negative 5 is the same as negative 5 plus positive 5. Now, for all that, we just get 0. That's kind of funny. Okay, let's try this next one. Okay, 4 minus 5 is negative 1. Minus 7 minus 8 is also negative 1. So lots of negatives here. Let's be careful. The opposite of negative 1 is going to be a 1. And then we are subtracting from it negative 1 again. So that's another plus 1. We end up with 2 overall. Okay. Here we've got some decimals, that's okay. 6.3 minus 4.3 is 2.3. No, 2.0. Again, 2.0. 2.0 minus 7.2. Okay, just because it's a decimal, it's not going to change how we do things. So we'll replace that with 2.0 plus negative 7.2. To get that done, I'll have 7.2 minus 2.0, and that is 5.2. But then we'll have a negative sum because our add end with the bigger absolute value is the negative one. Okay, last one. 6 squared is 36. 7 squared is 49. To do 36 minus 49, we'll have 36 plus negative 49. And then to do that, we need 49 minus 36, which is 13. Okay, but then the negative 14 had the bigger absolute value, and so our final sum is going to be negative 13. All right, that takes us to the end of our bit on subtracting integers. Once again, the overall rule is two rules. Is if you already know how to do it, just do it. And if you don't know how to do it, then replace the subtraction with an addition and then follow the addition rules. And then don't be thrown off by anything like having decimals or other expressions thrown in there. That takes us to the end of section 1.3 on adding and subtracting integers. Let me know if you have any questions, and have a great day.